Making bacon pancakes, making bacon pancakes. Hello, did you want to come up with this or your other account? Hi, Marianne. I am here. I'm here. How are you? It's coming along. I hit 60,000 words in this book that I'm trying to finish up. I'm this close. This close. I feel I'm within 10 chapters of the end, and then I get to go back and add all of the... I have a list of things I need to go back and add. Okay, you want to come on this one, okay.
Yeah, I'm on the struggle bus right now.
No, that works. I saw you came up and I was like, does she want to be on this profile or the other one?
I don't know who I am on any given day, and
That's, that's valid.
multiple personalities. Might as well. Hey, Vanessa.
Like I said, I wanted to make sure. I didn't want to invite you up and then you're like, no, I should be on my other one.
I don't really think that it matters, but Bobbie's links has a link to everything Leya. Leya's links do not have a link to everything Bobbie. It's how I separate church and state, or really how I want to keep my job. So we'll go with Bobbie. Why not?
That works. That works. And that way they can, look up your other stuff as well.
Yeah. And that way I don't, you don't have to struggle with, what do I call you today? No.
I will call you whatever you want me to.
I am Bobbie.
That works. All right. Then, were you ready to get started or did you need another minute?
I am ready whenever you are ready.
Well, then, hello, everybody. Welcome to Friday Night Writes. Usually we're over on the Discord where Brian is hosting. Brian is taking the week off. He needed some time. So I said, hey, I'll do it. I'll take it over, but we're doing it on TikTok. And so here we are with the fabulous Bobbie Isabel. She's also, her other pen name is Leya Layne. And it's because one's spicy and one is not, correct?
Yes.
So welcome everybody. We're gonna do just a quick little introduction and then we'll start getting into all of the fun questions and everything. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Evie Black. I'm a paranormal romance author. I have Unbalanced, Leona, and Abyssal. They're standalones in an interconnected series, available all over. They actually just came out of KU and are available wide for ebooks now. And then if you're looking for a physical copy, you can get them directly from me. And now let's hear from Bobbie.
Who am I? You know what? I said I was ready, but give me 2 seconds.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Books.
That's cool. Then I'll do the actual elevator pitches then.
There you go.
Unbalanced is if Hugh Jackman's Van Helsing and Supernatural had an angsty slow burn baby. We're talking angels, demons, forced proximity, and found family. Leona, she's a badass with thick thighs who ends lives, and Xandros is the simp that calls her abuse foreplay. This is Bear Shifters, Reverse Bully, and Grumpy Sunshine. Oh, thank you, Marianne. And then Abyssal. I finally figured out my elevator pitch for this one. Donovan is a shadow daddy with so many red flags he has his own color guard, and Theodora is an oracle that can see the future but can't see how toxic Donovan is. So this one's witches, abusive relationship, and a student-teacher trope.
Oh, okay.
So that's me.
Student-teacher abusive relationships. Okay. Hi, I'm Bobbie and Leya and confused on most daily bases. So we'll start with Bobbie. Who am I on the Bobbie side? Bobbie writes poetry, fantasy, and whatever else comes to my mind. So we'll start off with my children's book, which tends to be my most popular book when I go to romance conventions. Interestingly enough, I guess it's the parent guilt. They're like, oh, let me bring my little something home. So Lily has magic pajamas that let her travel and see animals. And she wants to swim with the beluga and meets a narwhal who is nervous because his tooth is grown and he doesn't look like his cousins anymore. And then I have, this is my most recent poetry book, Just What the Poet Ordered, 365 short form poems for all occasions. So it can be read one a day. It can be binged because they're really short. And there is an index just in case you're feeling a certain kind of way and looking for a certain kind of feeling. So there's an index as well. Untethered Love. Let's start over here first. This was my first book of poetry, my first book ever. When Can We Be Soft? This is all about being a woman in today's society that wants us to be feminine and yet calls us strong without giving us a chance to be soft, and how we work through that. And then Untethered Love is all the types of love that you can feel if you can work through this shit, including self-love, because that tends to be a struggle for most of us.
What's that?
Exactly. And then I have The Maynard, which is the first book in my fantasy series, The Age of the Forgotten Ones. She is a once in a millennia creature. So there have not been any Maynads in a millennium, and she doesn't know what she is, what her magic is, until it starts blossoming, and she almost destroys her village while trying to save her village. So I say think of it like Disney's Hercules. If Hercules was female, had magic and friends, that's pretty much what you're getting in that book. She travels, she fights things. It's mythology inspired, and as the series goes on, there will be different mythologies added into there. And yeah, a lot of fun. The prequel will hopefully be coming out this month. I had hoped to get it out this weekend, but I had to push it back to make sure it was the best thing that it could be. But it is her origin story from the mother's perspective.
Okay.
Because you don't get that. And then I have my 5 Leya books. So Leya writes all the spicy romance, mostly contemporary. So I might as well start at the beginning. This was my original Hot Hallmark, Carol's Christmas Awakening. It is everything that Hallmark should be because it also includes the spice. You don't have to wait till the end to get to the kiss. And she owns a floral shop. He works at the pop-up Christmas tree shop. And because it is a reimagining of A Christmas Carol, the ghosts play matchmaker. In this book, there are the 2 main characters, both have assistants. They fall in love, and that is Clarissa and the Wallflower. Clarissa is a floral assistant by day, dominatrix by night, and teaches him that he has a praise kink.
That's awesome.
And then I have You've Got Book Mail, which is my most popular book and has had the most readers, most reviews. She is a reclusive author, and she is writing a spicy romance novel and keeps getting interrupted during the most intense scenes by her mailman, who she falls for because he delivers all the packages.
Nice.
You get snippets of the book that she was writing in here, and then that became Char's story. So Char is a mid-sized model she's up and coming. Everybody knows who she is. She has one rule, and that rule is you don't fuck where you work. Well, she meets a guy, has a great weekend with him, and decides that she has kind of developed feelings for him in this one night stand turned weekend was supposed to be. But on Monday, she finds out that he's her boss.
Nice.
Yeah, because she just got a new contract, and she signed the contract with his partner and didn't know that he was the actual boss. And then in October, randomly, I decided, hey, let me put out a Halloween book. Didn't announce it or anything until Halloween, but she is a shorty. You can read her in just a couple hours. Happens over 3 days. They are on a cruise ship. He is a ghost, and they get vengeance on the ones who killed him with all the spicy time thrown in.
So that is actually our Schmiv this evening, the rehoming, adoption, whatever you want to call it, Love with a Vengeance, and then you said Just What the Poet Ordered as well,
Yeah.
correct?
So these two right here, these will be the two giveaways, one from each of me.
And so we'll throughout the night we'll give everyone in the comments a chance to enter. You can enter multiple times because we want you to stick around so we can hear what Bobbie's been up to and everything. So what we're gonna do is for Love with the Vengeance, we're gonna do black hearts. So if you would like to enter the schmiv, drop a black heart down into the comment, and I will add you to our fancy wheel of names here, and at the end we'll draw to see. This is US only.
Mm-hmm. Yes, unfortunately, with the costs of shipping that are crazy astronomical, I can't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I completely understand. That's why I always ask with the physical copies, because not everyone can ship. Even though Canada's like right there, I want
Literally,
to charge
literally right
an arm and
there.
a leg.
And we just got an email that said Canada Post may be going on strike again.
Oh no.
So I'm almost afraid to send anything and have it just sitting in a warehouse somewhere because it doesn't quite make it in time. Marianne, you can still enter, but I would have to send you an ebook, unfortunately, because that is. I tried to send something to Canada. I sent something to Joe, and the cost that I paid, she then had to pay an even heavier cost when it got there. So I don't want anybody to have to pay additional, like, because they didn't tell me I had to pay more.
Marianne, did you want to be added for an ebook? Is she still in here? I think she might be. Oh, okay. Yes, she is. All right. You are added then. All right. So tell us a little bit about yourself, not just author Bobbie, but who is Bobbie?
Who is Bobbie? So, I am a mother of twins. They are grown as grown can be. If you have met me at an event, you have probably met one of my daughters because she comes with me. I have a 4-year-old grandbaby who is everything. That is my Lily. So if you see the book Lily, like that is literally her. I wrote it for her when she turned 3. And I am an educator by trade. I teach school. I started off teaching high school, and I have been at every level in almost every position, including a central office district coaching position. And now I teach ESL.
Okay.
So I'm at an elementary school. I said, you know what? I have not been in an elementary classroom yet. And ESL was my first love because I knew that was what I was going to teach. When you want to know how Bobbie thinks and Bobbie processes, right? When I first started college, I was pre-med. And I said, I am going to be a doctor one day. And then I had to take a class and we had to do an externship or some volunteer hours or whatever. And I got put in an adult ESL class on the college campus. And within the first week, I changed my major. My major became Spanish and English. And I was going to do ESL, but ESL didn't exist. And this was like 100 years ago, right? Like it didn't exist as a major or as a licensure area. So I was like, okay, I'll do the 2 languages and I will just teach ESL. And then it took forever because I had 2 little children at the time for me to finish that degree. And by the time I finished the degree, I ended up teaching high school Spanish and high school English. And so 20 years later, because I am 20 years into this thing, I am finally teaching ESL, and I'm teaching it to elementary kids, and they're exhausting and lovely, and I love them. They sing to me, and it makes me happy.
That is awesome. For a while I thought about being a teacher, like when I was a kid, but I don't have the patience. I could.
Well, my mother laughs at me still. Like I said, I am 20 years into this. And my mother still laughs at me because I don't have patience except for with other people's children. Like in a classroom setting, I have all the patience in the world. Outside of that and with adults, I have absolutely zero.
Yeah, see, and I think I'd have to teach the adults. When I was in the army, one of my last duty station was actually an instructor for the advanced individual training, so like their actual job. And so like I was teaching a bunch of 19, 20-year olds how to do their army job, and I was like, oh hey, I'm pretty good at this. But I could also swear at them and make them do push-ups and tell them they're like, be really mean and say hurtful things. I couldn't do that with kids. I'd turn around and be like, oh, fuck faces, listen, and then I'd get fired.
I mean, the one good thing about teaching high school when I was a lot younger, right, was the fact that I could talk to them straight. I learned probably within my first month of teaching that cussing at them did nothing because they cussed themselves and that was what they were used to. So I got, creative. And they taught me patience and they taught me how to be a better teacher. Let's just put it that way.
That's good. So you're a teacher, right? But you also said you were pre-med. So
Mhm.
growing up, did you want to be a doctor?
I did, actually. I wanted to be a doctor, but probably not for the reasons that most people like, oh, I want to help people. No, I grew up with first aiders. I knew what it was to help people. Like that wasn't the thing. It was really just the, oh, she's so smart, she should be a doctor. Oh, she's so this, she should be a doctor. And so I was like, okay, well, if I'm really smart and I'm really this and this and this, then I'm going to be a doctor, right? So I said, someday somebody's going to call me doctor. Now they do. It's just not a medical doctor, right? Like I have the degree, I have the title, it is there. And, my daughters called me Dr. Mommy for like the first week and that was about it. And, other than that, it kind of sits on the shelf there and I pull it out when it's necessary, when people decide they want to try me.
Yeah, I feel you. So when did you know that you wanted to, like, when did you start writing and when did you like, hey, maybe I should publish what I wrote?
Okay, so the publishing thing is totally an ADHD on a whim. I was like, you know what? I have all this material. Let me just put that out there. But I never thought I could write creatively. Never did. I was totally an academic, right? Like, I will write you a research paper in half a minute. I will explicate on any piece of literature you want me to. I am an academic writer. And because I always approached fiction from the academic perspective, and then I never liked what I wrote because it had no feeling, no emotion, no anything. And then I got approached by a friend of mine who now happens to, we live together because I love him. But he came to me and he
When
said,
you went like this, and
he's
you went like
upstairs.
this, I was like, oh, he died. Oh no, I'm
No,
so
he's up.
sorry.
He's
But then you're
literally
like, oh
upstairs.
yeah, no, we're
He's
married.
above my head.
You scared me for a second.
No. So he is a musician by trade. Like he studied to be a musician and he's a physical therapist. But he was like, I've had this idea for 20 years for a musical. I love musical theater. Like that is my passion. I love musical theater. And he was like, I think you should write this musical that I've had in my head. We have all these songs, right? Just sitting in crates somewhere. I think you should write the musical. And I was like, I don't write. Like, I don't write stories. There are no stories up here in this head. And he was like, I really think you can do it. And so it took about a year and a half because I was still working on my dissertation at that point. And I wrote this musical, right? And we got the story and I was like, oh, it's a story. And because it was like right after Hamilton like blew up, it's written in poetry, the whole thing, because the lyrics were already in poetry for the songs that they had. And so it's all in poetry. And that like opened a floodgate of emotion. And so that's how this book, When Can We Be Soft, came about, because suddenly I had all of these emotions that I had to get out and they all came out through poetry. And so within that first year, I want to say that was, so I finished my degree in 2020. So it was like 2020, 2021. I wrote like 800 poems that year. And
A lot.
it is a lot. It is a lot. And most of them were haiku, which is why this book now exists, 365 poems in one book, because I have so many of them. But it was really just okay, I have to get all of this. Where does this come from? And then I was like, okay, now that I have released most of that, let me tackle something that has been in my head. I wanted to write a memoir about a terrible time in my life and an unaliving attempt, right, when I was 14. And so the way that I got through it was fantasy. Like I had created this fantasy world in my head of everything that was happening. And so I started writing this memoir probably about 2022. I didn't think it was going to go anywhere. I was like, no, this is just for me. I got the emotions out in the poetry. Let me get this story out so that I can finally be free of all of this. And so I started writing this memoir, and it was like one chapter of reality. Here is what I did. Here is what happened. And one chapter of the fantasy that was kind of back to back with it. And I wrote probably the 50,000 words back then when Nano was a thing. I wrote it during Nano. And I was like, you know what? I love this fantasy story and where it's going. And so I just completely revamped it, made the character her own person, and grew it out from there. And that is the Maynard. And so that was the first book that I wrote completely and finished. It was not the first book I published because my sister, who is the most talented artistic person in the world, painted the cover by hand.
Oh, wow.
So it is a hand drawn, hand painted, right? So I had to wait for the cover. So I literally sat on that book for 6 months waiting for her because I have a nephew who takes up all her time and energy, and had to wait for her to finish that cover. And now I'm waiting for her to finish the cover of the prequel, which is why it is being delayed. But I will delay it just to have her stamp, on it. But yeah, so I sat on that, and while I was sitting on there, I met Roberts Row. We were not Roberts Row at the time, but that's when I met my friends, and it was like August of a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. We haven't even been friends for 2 years, so there's that, right? And we met here on TikTok Live, and they were all writing romance, and I was like, I could do that. Sex sells. I could do that. And so craziness. I started writing Carol's Christmas Awakening. And so September, I want to say September to October, I think it took me about a month to write that book because I woke up from a dream and I was like, oh, let me do this retelling of A Christmas Carol. And the funny thing is that I don't usually remember my dreams because when I was a kid, they were all nightmares. And so I literally would black them out. And so I don't often remember my dreams at all. But this one, I woke up and I had to plot it out before I could even get out of bed. Like I had the entire story plotted. Now, did the characters listen and follow that plot? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. It was supposed to be a slow burn with one, like she just shows up at the end and there is one crash scene. No, they started in chapter 2. I need y'all to sit down somewhere. But anyway, so that was the first novel that I released and published. And so, yeah, ever since then, it's just been crazy delusion after delusion. So when can we be soft?
I know y'all over on Roberts Row, y'all like putting out like back to back books. Like I had Brittany on here a few weeks ago, and she was like, I have like 8 books coming out this year. Like, what?
Yes. So just a little perspective, right? This book came out in April of 2023. This was the very first book I released, April of 2023. Carol came out November 1st of 2023. I have 10 books out.
So
Like,
you published your first book a month after I published mine, and I only have 3.
okay, but your books are chunkers too.
Mm, yeah, but if we hold them up next to each other, like I think
Our pile is probably about the same. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I have 10 books out. I am finishing up Mother of the Maynard, which hopefully will come out this month. We are putting out our last Cole County anthology at the end of this month. Like, we're formatting it, and I actually have KDP open right now to put it up there for pre-order. So that makes another 3 books, right, that are out, not including the show anthologies like the Simple anthology and the Booked in Chaos anthology story that I've written. But yeah, so it has been a whirlwind of delusions. I'm exhausted and yet super excited, and like, there is nothing else that I enjoy more than getting on here and writing with these ladies and having Vanessa yell at us, and then read everything and then yell at us again. There's nothing better.
So besides your writing, do you have any hobbies?
Who has time for hobbies? Wait.
Look, I'm reading questions off a sheet, right? Like, everyone knows you're either a writer, like an author, or you go do things and you have a life.
So, well, I go to events, right? And I go do markets, because these books, unfortunately, no matter how much work I put into them and how much love I give to them, they will not sell themselves. Like, they just take up space. Like, they're
so
like children. They're so like children. But no, so again, we both love musical theater. So we try to go at least once a month, once every couple of months, to go see a show. We usually catch the Broadway traveling shows that come through one of the cities around us. And we go to the beach, like, just to go listen to the ocean. We don't actually go to the beach, but we go just to go listening, because it really is a relaxation time. And we do trivia once a week. So every Tuesday, there is a local restaurant bar here that has trivia every Tuesday. And so we go do that. And half the time we're there, I'm thinking about the deadlines that I have and the shit that I have to write. But you know what? We come in second or first place every week. So we go.
So do I know you said that one of your characters is actually writing a romance book, and she keeps getting interrupted by the mailman.
Yep.
But do any of your characters like the theater as well, or do they do trivia night too in your books?
Not yet. Not yet. Most of my characters thus far have been readers, lovers of books. Like I said, she is an author, but for most of my contemporary romance, that they are readers. But yeah, no, there will be, there's little things here or there that overlap, but we haven't had a trivia yet. We haven't had musical theater. We did talk about audiobooks. We did talk about movies, or books made into movies in one of them. So I like to leave Easter eggs. So there is a scene for Char's story that has them watching the movie from You've Got Book Mail, as if You've Got Book Mail was made into a movie. And so there's that scene. I kind of like mixing them together like that. There has not been a teacher, and one of the reasons for that is because it gives me the ick, the teacher romance. So especially when it's like a teacher student. So I haven't done a teacher outside of that yet. Maybe after I retire, then I'll feel better about that.
And that's fair. Like Samantha Moran didn't want to do a spicy book because she was like, I'm a teacher. What if one of my students pick up my book? Mm-hmm. And now she's like, ooh, I'm just writing spice.
Yeah. Well, that's why I have the 2 different pen names. I'm like, Bobbie is my real name, so I will be Bobbie over here. And then Leya is nowhere near my real name. And so I'm like, if somebody goes and they look for them, they'll find them. But I try to keep them separate, for the for the sake of all of that.
That's fair. So, we you are a contributing author for our anthology that Friday Night Writes is doing, See Me As I Am, which
Hmm.
seeks to highlight invisible illnesses, both mental and physical.
Hmm.
Are there any other projects or causes or something that like Sam has her Walk MS, and Brian, whenever there's a natural disaster, will donate his royalties to FEMA or whichever local Red Cross needs the assistance. Do you have a specific charity or anything that you advocate or fundraise for?
Not that I have had an issue with fundraising since I was a kid, and then as a mom I had a bigger issue with fundraising because when you have twins and all the fundraisers come out, like it's really hard. So I do a lot of donations to things, when the suicide hotline donations come out, I donate to that. I used to do the March for Babies, the March of Dimes. Used to do that every year because my babies were preemies, so there are things that were dear to my heart, but I tend to do them behind the scenes now. Like I will just donate money. I will say that as this series grows, every book, 10% of the proceeds goes to conservation for whatever animal it is. So right now it is narwhal conservation, because they will all be endangered animals that will be in the series. But there's not really anything specific right now that I'm like, oh, let me champion this, because there is so much that I am just overwhelmed with what like I can't even keep it straight in my head with the shit show and like dumpster fire that is right now. And so
I understand.
I'm just like, oh, you're collecting money for this? Yes, let me let me contribute. Oh, you're putting out an anthology and the money's going to this. Here's a story for you, because I can't process it all. Like I don't have the emotional capacity to process it all.
Yeah, no,
So,
I understand. I'm not on TikTok as much anymore just cuz it's like I come on and I am just like at 5 seconds from a freaking panic attack, like breaking news, and I'm like, let's close the phone and
yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
it's a lot. It's a lot. So, then if you could tell me, if you feel comfortable, some of your favorite things. This could be your favorite food, your favorite candy, favorite season, movie, whatever.
Some of my favorite things. Well, I already told you, musical theater is like my favoriteest thing ever. Um, let's see. Favorite movie of all time, I still probably go with History of the World by Mel Brooks. It is the most ignoble movie ever, but
I
yet
love Mel Brooks
14
films.
year old
They're so
14
good.
year old me can still recite like every scene. Joe can probably tell you better than I can how many times we watched that movie in middle school and elementary school. But probably of all times, I don't do a lot of rewatch. Like I'm not a rereader. I'm not a rewatcher. When people talk about, what is your guilty pleasure movie or this and that, that it's not me. There are too many movies out there, too many books out there. I don't have time. I want to read something new. I need the dopamine hit of something new. Um, but I will say that if I am scrolling through movies and The Fifth Element comes up,
That's a good
I
one.
can't not stop. Like I can't not stop and have that movie play. So that's definitely one of those top ones there. Um, let's see. What is my favorite? My favorite ice cream is cookies and cream.
Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah, it's, and it used to be specifically Turkey Hill because it was always actually creamy, like they made it with cream, but I think they've changed their formula. So it gets hard now. I don't like hard ice cream. I have an issue with textures.
Hmm.
Vanessa, favorite book. God, I don't know that I have a favorite book because when I think of what people say as, oh, this is my favorite book, it's a book that they go back to and they reread over and over and over again. And I just can't. Bye, Ashley. I just
Well,
can't.
that leads me to my next question: is what was your most recent 5-star read?
My most recent 5-star read. Hold on. I have Goodreads up. Let me. You don't expect me to actually remember these things, do you? Um, Last 5-star read. Do I still have that on here? This one right here. So, for those who don't know, April was National Poetry Month, and so I got this one off the TikTok shop, Not a Monolith, and so it is Poems and Musings of a Black Woman is the subtitle, and it was so good. There were so many things that I was just like, oh yeah, that's relatable. And even the things that weren't necessarily relatable, I was like, I feel that. I feel that desperately. And so I really enjoyed that. Um, Again, that comfort read thing doesn't work for me because I don't pick books back up. I think the only series that I have ever reread is the is Cheryl and Kenyon. And that was because when I first read them, I didn't even know there was an order to them. And so I was like, well, did I miss something by not reading them in order? And so I went back and tried to read them all in order and then got stuck because some of the books are so damn traumatic that I, can't go any like I'm stuck right there at Styx. And even though I know exactly what happens, I've read it before, I just every time I go to read it again, my heart sinks and I can't do it. Do I have a character out of my books that I like more than others? That changes with every book. So when I wrote Carol's Christmas Awakening, Clarissa was my favorite character. I absolutely loved her. She was snarky, she was funny. And I still love her. Even in her own book, I still love her. But in the Maynard, there is a gnome. And when I say that I absolutely love his grumpy little ass, I love him. I love him completely. So right now he's probably my favorite is him. I love a side character. Like my main characters, they're great, but it's their story. And I get caught up in the side characters. Like,
Yes, they need a personality, and
yes,
sometimes you give them a little bit too much.
yeah. I mean, and I want to write him like he's probably going to get a novella because you just kind of hear little things about him. And I'm like, I probably need to tell his story. I don't know what his story is yet, but I probably need to tell his story because he's fun. So there's that. Maybe I'll do special editions once the whole series is done and I'll add his novella in or something. I don't know.
It's nice. All right, you guys, it is your chance if you would like we're doing physical copies
If
of
you're US physical copies, if you're not US, I can do ebooks.
yeah, for Love with the Vengeance and Just What the Poet Ordered. So if you would like to be entered into the Schmiv, go ahead and put a black heart down in the comments and I will add you to our wheel right here. And we'll draw the winner at the end. But y'all will have multiple chances to get in on this. You got to stick around though. Give me just 1 second. That's the one thing. Doing this, not having Brian or Sam or someone with me is
Having to type all the names in yourself and keep up.
Yep.
Well, it's a good thing I'm not famous. There's not like 50 people in here with
Well,
the things
even
scrolling.
if one, you are kind of famous. Two, even if there were 50 people, it'd just be 50 people sitting there watching me type of way. So we know that you've written poetry and then you write full, actually full stories.
hmm
But what genres are they all in? Do they span genres, or you just mostly stay with the romance?
So the Maynard is fantasy. It reads YA, but it will mature as the series goes on. So really the big thing is that it doesn't have any explicit scenes. It really doesn't have any romance yet in it at all. I wrote that because I was putting out all of these romance novels and my cousin kept buying them, and her 10-year-old wanted to know why she couldn't read Cousin Bobbie's books. And so I had to write, I was writing the story for me, but I had to make sure that it was accessible for her. And then my sister doesn't like explicit scenes, and they're really into fantasy. And so it reads very YA for this first book because she doesn't know how old she is, and she thinks she's 14. So, but it will mature as things go on. The mom's story is a little bit more mature, probably an NA, but still not explicit. My sister told me, she said, it made me uncomfortable. I really like closed door romance. I was like, it is closed door. They kiss. That's it. You don't see anything else. And she was like, okay, I still cringed. Please do not read anything else under my other pen name then.
Yeah.
Don't read anything else under that pen name.
Yeah, no, my mom, she has my books, but she's not allowed to read them.
Oh, my mom has read every single one of my books and she sells them to everybody she knows.
That's
She,
awesome.
she takes them to work and she keeps three of every book in her car at all times, and probably sells more of my books than I do. And but she also reads werewolf smut. So
That's
there's that.
awesome. My husband's a mechanic, he works on cars, but someone will come in, and if he hears them talking about, oh, my wife reads those spicy books, or my wife is a reader, here comes my husband. Really? You don't say? Well, my wife just happens to be an author. And I'm just like, you're over there peddling my wares. I'm like, that you just sold my book to that poor man. He doesn't even know anything about it.
Hey, but you know what? He may reap the benefit of it.
This is true.
So that's the important thing.
You know what, Matt? Matt cannot comment because I just sold a book, not the audio book. Matt's voice is a menace when he starts reading those spicy scenes.
I listened to it. I enjoyed it. Very much so.
So your fantasy is going to be a series, and then your romance books, they seem to be interconnected standalones. So do
Yes.
you prefer series, or is that just what you happen to write?
Um, the Maynard is a series because she had so much story left to tell. So that is why that is a series, not for any other reason other than I could not, she would have been like 11,000 pages if I had, put her all into one. I like to read interconnected standalones, so it just makes sense for me to write interconnected standalones. I'll probably write a couple more series, but they will mostly be fantasy or maybe some romantasy, because I think fantasy lends itself better to series than romance. Romance, I don't want to have to read 2, 3 books before I get to a happily ever after. Like, I don't want to have to do that. I want I want my romance and I want my smut hot and heavy, and then I want to move on to the next couple. I can maybe, in an interconnected standalone, I can still find out what happens to this couple, which is nice, but I want to be focused on the next couple. I love, and I want everybody to just enjoy themselves.
That's why I do the interconnected standalones too. It's just like, yeah, like this couple is great, but they need to wrap it up because I want I want a new romance. I want the meet cute and the I don't like you, and okay, maybe I do like you. I'm a
Right. I'm going to
slow
rip your
burn,
heart out and then I will let you just grow a new one.
right? Like I like the slow burns because they're all just like I don't like you like that. Maybe I do. No, I
Mhm.
don't. And then they're like, "Oh no, I love them." Like it's the end of the world. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I love to read interconnected standalones. So my romances tend to be interconnected standalones. There are some overlap. Like I just, in the last anthology that we're putting out, you get Clarissa. They have nothing to do with each other, but you get Clarissa and Mark from Clarissa and the Wallflower in that book. So there's overlap. Those two series will be interconnected when I re-release all of the Cole County stories as full books, which I'm hoping to do next year. That is my plan for Leia, is to re-release all of those as extended stories. So yeah.
Well, we have another chance for this adoption, rehoming, schmiv, whichever you want to call it, so the algorithm doesn't try to kick me off. So it's Just What the Poet Ordered and Love with a Vengeance. Both of those as physical copies if you are in the US. If you are outside the US, she said she would do ebook. Yep. So all you have to do is put some black hearts down into the comments, and I will add you to our wheel right here. And while I'm doing that, please, could you tell us, how do you handle the author-life balance?
Girl, bye. Um, I live in my delusions. That's how I handle it. I go to work all day wishing that I could be home to write, and then I come home and I stare at my computer and hope that I can write. And then I go to bed and I do it all over again. And I try to sleep somewhere in there, because just because I'm in bed doesn't mean that I'm sleeping. No, because my brain is stupid and never shuts off. And so I don't know what balance is, and I have 4 events this month and 2 events next month. And yeah, what is that? What is balance?
Yeah. And I was just gonna be like, how do you handle the marketing with versus the writing? But
I
it
don't.
sounds like you have to do like 30 more million things.
I don't. I am living under the delusion that if I put out 20 books, suddenly somebody is going to find out that I have books out and actually start reading them all. That is my delusion, and I am living with it. Um, so
My
I'm
delusion
halfway there. I'm
is
halfway there.
that someone famous will randomly find a book that was discarded by someone, and they'll read it and be like, "Oh, this isn't bad," and then they'll like tweet about it. Well, no, that people don't really tweet anymore.
They don't X either.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like they'll just be like, "Hey, I just found this book," and then all of a sudden everyone's buying my book.
Yeah.
Like,
And I do have a Vanessa. Vanessa is the bomb. She posts about all of our books everywhere, almost every day. So that is the best thing ever. Everyone should get themselves a Vanessa, but not ours.
but not ours.
But not ours.
So, in the process of writing, what is it that you enjoy most about the process?
Um, I probably enjoy that moment where I figure out where they're going, because I am a pantser. So I have no idea. I literally start every story except for two, I think, with a blank slate, blank page, have no idea. And I just sit there and I say, okay, if I put two people into this situation, what is the first thing they would say to each other? And I start with dialogue, because I also have aphantasia. So I can't picture anything. I don't have that movie going on in my head. I have no idea what these characters look like or anything, but I have dialogue and I have sound. And so I hear them talking to me, and I kind of describe it as I am listening to what is happening in the next room and writing what is happening, but I have no idea. I make up everything else. Um, And so I have no idea where these stories are going 90% of the time. So that moment when I figure out, oh, that's what's happening here. That's where they're going. That's the trope that we're working on. That moment of discovery for me, that is it. That is my favorite part.
Yeah, I always like that epiphany when they finally start acting right. Your characters start acting right, and then like you just kind of get into sync, and then they'll say something off the wall. That's what happened with the Abyssal. I had to rewrite like half of this because my character went, am I really that bad of a person? Because as bad of a like Donovan is not a good person, right? Like, but he was like 10 times worse in the original, like the first draft. And he literally was just like, hey, if you want a happily ever after, you need to make me not such a dick. And then I had to go back and rewrite like half the book. But it ended up being like way better too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I so here's a fun thing. I tend to write very clean first drafts. So if I'm going to change things, it is going to happen while I'm drafting, but I am a reader as I write. So I clean it up, I edit as I write because I don't remember what the fuck I wrote. Right? And sometimes like this past month, I was working on spicy romance and YA fantasy at the same time. Like I would work on this one day and work on this one the next day. So when I get back to each manuscript, I'm reading the chapter that I wrote before. So I'm cleaning it up while I'm reading it and then continuing the story on. And so I like to say, I'm a pantser, I'm delusional, but I'm not chaotic. I am a very straightforward, I have to write linearly. I can't mix up chapters and all of that. So my first drafts are not very different from what the final draft becomes. It's just cleaner and tighter, but it's not very different. And I'm not an adder. So if I get done at 39,000 words, it's still probably going to be in that 39,000 word range by the time I publish it.
See, I'm a minimalist when it comes to descriptions and things like I'm not gonna spend a whole page describing what she's wearing. Like it's set in the real world, so she's wearing blue jeans and a t-shirt, and like I will not elaborate. But then a lot of the feedback I get from like the beta readers was like, I wish you would explain this some more. I wish you would give me a little bit more detail. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, they're in New York. They're in like downtown. Have you never seen a movie? And they're like, no, I need more. I need more. Like sounds, the smells, and I'm like, oh. So I end up going through and adding like 10,000 more words of descriptors.
So this one right here, right? Again, I told you I have aphantasia, so I can't see anything. So, and I don't like heavy what do you call it? Description, because I can't see it. It's just extra words for me for no reason. Give me the plot. Give me what's happening. And then I asked my sister to do this cover, and she was like, so what do these characters look like? What's this world look like? And I was like, why does it matter?
Right? Like there's some trees. You know what trees are?
She's like, if you want me to draw it, if you want me to design this cover, I need to know. Like I need to know. And so she went through and read the manuscript, and she was like, okay, this mom just had a baby that's like bigger than a bowling ball. What does she look like at the end of this situation? Like, does she still look? I was like, she looks like you. Like, you were absolutely gorgeous after you had my nephew, and he was bigger than any other child I've ever seen. And she's like a stick. I was like, you were absolutely stunning. So just imagine that's what she looked like. Like, I don't know. I don't know what these characters look like, but I know what they do and I know what they say. I know their personality, like, just draw that. So a lot of it, she started drawing out the characters. And after she drew out the characters, I went back in and added their descriptions based on her drawings. because I couldn't picture them. I had no idea what they were looking like. Like, I don't know. Maybe they have blonde hair. Maybe they have black hair. I know she has horns. You know, like that's
I mean, but that's got to be a struggle to not, having the aphantasia where you're not getting the movie. Like I get the movie. I didn't it never occurred to me, like I'd be like when I hear people talking about when they're reading, I'm like, "Oh man, that really sucks." But I never thought about it from the author side of it, to not be able to see how I want my characters to look, to not be able to see, oh, this is what the scene is supposed to look like, if it was a movie.
mhm.
How difficult is that?
I don't think it's necessarily difficult. It's just different. And so I think that it matters most when I'm considering who the audience is. Because many fantasy readers, for example, that is what they're looking for, is that world building and that description. And, sometimes that heavy stuff. And I will tell you right now that if you are a fan of Tolkien, don't read my shit. Don't, because I
I love
can't
Tolkien.
stand Lord of the Rings is absolute trash. If you're going to spend 12 days and 12 years telling me how green the hills were, the trees were, the landscape
I
was,
just skipped
everything
that part.
everything was green. I'm like, was he high? I just need to know. Was he high when he wrote that shit? Because nobody
No, no.
cared.
What happened was Tolkien had when he was originally telling The Hobbit and the story of the Lord of the Rings, he was actually telling it as bedtime stories to his kids, and his kids would sit there and ask him a million fucking questions, right? And then if he contradicted himself, like they'd be like, "But Dad, you said last time, blah 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 blah." So he actually went and started writing everything down, and that's partly why he had some of the descriptions and stuff he had, was because he had kids sitting there like, and why, why.
Mm-mm, nope. I can't get through it. I finally just, I didn't even DNF it. It's a WNF. I am never reading that. I can't get through it. I love the movie.
It's
I love the movies though. I love the plot, but I can't get through it. And so
That was my first read through.
I
I
don't
read
read
it
a
all.
lot of epic fantasy. I would rather read like the Odyssey. You know what I mean? Like I would because the description is sparse, but the story is strong, right? Like it's complete and it's there. And so while I put in that description for readers of fantasy, it's not going to be that in depth. This, if it doesn't matter to the plot, it's not there. And you're going to get it when it matters to the plot, because you're probably going to get it through dialogue, because I hear everything they say and I read it aloud to myself in voices. So when I'm doing my read, I am literally reading aloud to myself, and they are different voices coming out and all of that, because I'm like, does this sound like a conversation that people would have? And if not, then that's a problem. All right, let's fix that.
So do you hear like the narration and stuff, and like their internal thoughts and introspection?
Mhm.
Okay, because I was just sitting there. I'm like, she's only hearing the dialogue. How does she get the
Oh
rest
no,
of it?
no, but again, to me, everything is dialogue. It's all words,
Okay.
because I am experiencing this as if I was in the next room listening through, like being in a hotel and listening to the neighbors have sex. Like that is how I'm experiencing this story, because I can't see anything. I can't picture it. I can't visualize it unless it is something that I know like so well that I'm like, oh, I've seen that 100 times. I know what that looks like. But if you asked me to change it up, no clue. No idea. Don't ask me. If you tell me it's a Granny Smith apple, I'm like, okay, logically, I know a Granny Smith apple is green. I also know that it's tart, but do I get a picture of a Granny Smith apple in my head? Absolutely not. I get a ball with a stem, because that's the shape of an apple. Like that's it. And so, so again, I don't see what's happening. I hear it all. And it is literally as if I am telling that story to somebody. You know what I heard? You know what the neighbors were doing? That's how I tell my stories.
I got this puzzle thing, even though we're having a full-on conversation.
Yeah.
We're just okay, TikTok.
I don't mind the puzzles so much. Now they have this new one that is like pictures of things that are so small and you can't really see them, but you have to say, oh, these are two things that are round and you play with them and you have to know that it's two basketballs or whatever and you have to find them.
That's weird.
It's ridiculous.
So, do you have any writing routines? You got to put music on, or you know, you need your mug of coffee or hot beverage of choice. You know, you have certain things you have to do to get into that right mindset for writing.
No, I just have to have enough space on the desk for my cat because if not, she will like knock everything off the desk and I won't be able to write anything. But no, I just sit down and I'm like, okay, what's going to happen today? What fresh hell are these characters going to put me through? No, I don't really have any routines. Again, routines don't work for me very well, like habits and routines. No, I can't. I know a lot of people do, you know. I also am not very good at listening to music while I'm writing unless it's like classical. If it has words, I will start jamming out and singing the words. Why? Because I love musical theater like that. So I will perform instead of writing the story. So no, it most of the time it doesn't have words. When we're on lives and B is listening to something and the music is going and I'm just like, please let it be a song I don't know so I can like zone it out, you know, and then she'll put on This Is Me. And I'm like, damn it.
Wait a second, I need to go get, you know, dressed for my...
Yeah, let me get my microphone out right now.
I can't listen to music either. I like to put on actually Ancient Aliens in the background, but I'll turn the volume down really low. I just need some kind of noise, right? But if it's a song, like I'm into it. I'm like I want to sing and dance and you know do all that stuff, but I put on Ancient Aliens, I'm like this show's full of shit. And I mean it's entertaining as fuck, but I'll put it on just to have that noise so I can actually write and I'm not even paying any attention, you know? But yeah, let me hear a lyric.
I struggle with that even because of the fact that I am so word focused, you know, so dialogue and narrative focused that even that in the background, one, it's going to annoy me that I can hear it but not hear it. But two, it's kind of like, you know, I don't even know how we're together some days because he likes to go to sleep with the TV on because he needs that noise, right, to calm everything down. But even if I don't like the show that's on, I can't sleep because then those people, those characters, they get in my head. And then I need to know what's happening or else I'll be making it up in my sleep. And neither of those is a great scenario for getting any sleep.
No, I understand that one. I struggle with insomnia, and there's some nights where because I like to try to figure out what, you know, my next chapter is, and usually that's enough to keep my brain from going down all the rabbit holes, right? And then I'll just kind of zone off it and then go to sleep. But then there are some nights where I'm just like, I'm trying to plot it out in my head, and I'm like, nope, I'm gonna go ahead and I have an idea for a completely new book that is now a 12-book series, even though I just had the idea, and I'm off.
Yep, absolutely. I totally get that. I've even tried audiobooks, like to go to sleep with an audiobook. No, because then I will literally, just like if I'm face reading, I will stay up all night. Doesn't matter whether I have to teach the children in the morning or not. I will stay up all night to finish the book. And so even an audiobook where I should be able to zone out, you know, and then rewind, nope, I will stay up all night to finish the book. So that doesn't work for me either. But yeah, when it comes to writing, no, I literally just sit here, open up my documents and say, okay, which one of y'all fools is going to talk to me today?
So you are a indie author.
I am.
Did you ever why like did you consider traditional publishing, or did you just decide nope, I'm not dealing with that at all and straight indie?
The closest I ever got to considering it was, back in Twitter pitch days, they had ones for picture books. And so I had a couple picture book ideas that I pitched in that. But no, and part of the reason is, again, I say all the time that I have ADHD, but there are some really shitty things that come with it. And rejection sensitivity is one of them. And so the idea that I am going to spend all of this time creating something that I presumably love, or else I wouldn't be submitting it anyway, to not hear back for 6 to 12 months about whether or not an agent is interested in it. Forget about, whether a publisher is. You got to go find the agent for 6 to 12 months. And this book that I presumably love, I'm running through my head about how much it must suck because they're not answering me. And really, it's just that they have so many that they can't accept them all, but they don't always tell you. So you're just sitting there and you're waiting and you're processing all of these things. And the more I read about the wait for it, the more I was like, nah, that's not for me. That's not for me. I will create my own covers. I will do my own editing. I have a degree in English. I'm a writing teacher. I will do my own editing. I will do whatever the hell I have to do to get these books out. And that's what I do. You see what I mean? This right here.
I was about to say, he wants your attention. He was staring so hard at you, like, why are you not petting me?
She is something. She is something else, ma'am. Hello.
She's very pretty.
It's pretty.
Okay, so how many, you said that you will sit down at your computer and open up to see which files, which stories are going to actually talk to you or not. So if you don't mind sharing, how many works in progress do you currently have?
Way too many. So not counting anthologies, right? Right now I have a deadline to get Mother of the Maenad done. So that is where I'm trying to focus all of my energy. But then I have this idea for, because of the Sinful anthology and writing the redo of fairy tales, I was like, oh, I want to put out a short anthology, maybe a few of them of, naughty fairy tales. And so now I'm like, okay, which one of those is next? And these stories are going through my head now, and I can extend the Hansel and Gretel one that I submitted and, have that ready to go. And maybe that'll be a stand. And so there's that, right? There's this series of them and they're all there going through my head. And then we have a spooky release. So Gracie and I are going to start this new series together with witches who have shadow powers and shadow motorcycles. And so it's going to be, so that's going to be interesting. And I have to start writing that. So that is kind of processing and percolating, in my head as I'm doing that. Again, I always have poetry open because when my emotions are on overload, that is where I, dump those out. And then I have a trilogy. So in You've Got Book Mail, not only is she writing the spicy story that became Char's story, but she is most well known for her romantasy trilogy. And so that I already have notes on what that trilogy is going to be, but I'm not sure when I'm ever going to be able to flesh it out. But I'm like, oh, this is who I'm. And then I saw a TikTok video and I was like, you are the main character of that. Like I wouldn't have pictured you on my own, but you are the main character because now I'm in love with you, type of thing. And so there's that. And that I always have like 6 or 7 different documents open, Google Docs open for each of these things where I'm like, okay, I can't write you right now, but I can take this note of this thing that's going on in my head about it. I have a football series that I have 12 titles, I think 13 titles in this football series. So there's that. That is also, I'm taking notes, and one of them is going to go into the Booked in Chaos anthology, like the start of one of those. So of course, as soon as I start actually fleshing out that story, then I'm not going to want to stop, you know. And then my goal is to finish up Age of the Forgotten Ones next year and have the full trilogy completed next year. So I'm working through, not only am I writing the prequel to the series, but I'm also in my mind like, okay, where's the rest of the series going, so that I can get that done. And then I think Robert's Row, we have 1, 2, 3 anthologies coming out next year. So yeah, it's it's never ending. It's never ending. Oh, plus the new baby book. So there will be another baby book out, hopefully by the end of this year.
You have a lot going on.
Yep.
Rising. All right, so how do you deal with writer's block?
Because I have so much going on in so many different genres, I really don't deal with writer's block, because if the story that I'm wanting to work on is not working out, I can always go back to poetry. I can always switch to a different genre. And so, it's like a blessing and a curse kind of, that I get to write all the time, but I can't always write the same thing to get it finished at all times. So,
That's I have a bunch of works in progress too, and that's what I would do is I would jump around. What's talking to me today?
mhm.
What am I feeling like? I'm having to focus on one book because I realized like it's great I can jump around, but it's taking me forever to write 30 books. Maybe if I just write one, I can get one out.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, do you insert pieces or of yourself or of people that you know into your characters?
Um, yes, into some of them, and some of them no. Like I said, the Maynard started as a memoir with the fantasy, to its side. So there are a lot of overlaps between younger me and that character, right? And that storyline. Um, the baby book, that is my Lily, that is my grandbaby. So, she's all in that book. Um, you've got book mail. All of my female main characters are plus size or mid size, because I am plus size and now mid size. So, and I have never had a problem, getting the good stuff. So none of my characters have a problem getting the good stuff, right? Um, let's see. And she's an author that writes spicy books, so there's that. I like strong women who are looking for a way to, again, be soft. That's kind of, the theme of my poetry. So that finds its way into my books as well. Like, they are strong, and yet there's that moment where they can just be vulnerable, and have that person that they can be vulnerable with. And it's not always the love interest that they can be vulnerable with, like in the newest Cole County that's coming out, like, she has her best friend who has been in therapy for years, who takes all of those tips and tricks that she's learned and kind of tosses them at her. And she's like, you know what? I hate your therapist. I want to fire your therapist, at the same time that I appreciate you for being that for me, Um, and so there is definitely some overlap, but unfortunately, like, Love with a Vengeance, I haven't met a ghost yet who can give me all the good stuff
Yet.
yet, so there's that. But like, I love to go on cruises. They're on a cruise. So there's a lot of, you know, my love of different things in the books.
Okay, so you mentioned Google Docs earlier. Are there any other tools or programs or stuff that you use? So, if we have any baby authors, new authors, unpublished authors,
Hmm.
what kind of tools do you use that they maybe might not have heard of yet?
So I only use Google Docs for notes. So if I have an idea in my head and I'm like, I can't really start writing this right now, I will open up a Google Doc, put the title or just the idea of what it is, and type out whatever those ideas are. Or if I'm driving long distance, like to an event, I will pull up that notes Google Doc and I will actually draft as I'm driving, talk to text. So half of the Maynard was written on my commute to and from work. you know, um, it's kind of funny when I'm trying to transcribe it into the actual document. But so I only use Google Docs for those notes. I don't actually draft in Google Docs. I do most of my drafting in one of two places. So I use For the Words, um, which is a website that lets you sprint with yourself. Like as you type words, you are fighting against monsters. And so it gives me that dopamine hit without making me do any real extra work. I just click start challenge or start battle, whatever the hell it is. And I just try to type faster than they count down, and so it kind of forces me to get the words out. And I get really mad when I lose. Sometimes the ADHD kicks in and I forget I'm in a battle and I'll go do something else and I'll come back and I'm like, type of thing. And then I'll have to do like three more just to make myself feel better. But I use that when I really need to get the words out. But most of my manuscripts are written in Scrivener. And the thing I love about Scrivener is that it's great for organizing. So like my chapter breaks are there, my scene breaks are there, and it will export. So for for Vanessa, because she does all our alpha and beta reading, I can export an EPUB straight from Scrivener in the most obnoxiously first draft way possible. And I don't have to do anything extra to it. And I can move a chapter, move a scene, move, whatever that I need to move a whole lot easier than in Word or in Google Docs. I don't have to copy and paste. I literally just click and drag and the whole scene goes. It also has notes where I can do character sketches. So like I have my list of character names because I am notorious for forgetting the name that I have given a character. And so I will change the name and then I'll be like, oh shit, that's not who you were 2 chapters before. So every time I introduce a character by name, I create a new card for them. Even if I never put any descriptions in there, and there are lots of places to put descriptions in those Scrivener character cards, just having that name is helpful. You can also do the same for locations, for settings. So if you decide what the name of a setting is, I can just put that in there. And then for the series or even the interconnected standalones, it's a right click and I can send it to the next manuscript. So like it will copy it automatically to the next manuscript, which has been so helpful. But yeah, so those are really the two that I use for drafting is Scrivener and then For the Words when I just need to focus and get as many words out as possible.
Um, Scrivener also, not just for writing too, it's formatting as well, correct?
You can use it for formatting. I don't for a lot of it, like because I want to see it all in one thing. So I will, when I'm completely finished, export it to Word and then put all my titles in because even though I can export in a vellum format, because I use vellum for my formatting because I have a Mac, it doesn't always come out the way that I want it to. So I export to a Word doc and do my basic formatting of like chapter headings and that, and then put it into vellum. And I do all my formatting in vellum.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Yeah, I use Atticus,
mhm.
but I also drafted. I do almost everything in Word. and so then that way it's just a quick upload, and like you said with the chapter headers and stuff, and you
Hmm.
I just do the little stars in it, like oh chapter break, and it'll do it
Hmm.
all for me if I do it correctly in Word first.
Right. Yeah. So Scrivener, when I export it, it does come through with those chapter breaks with the stars, and all of that, but it doesn't always include the title, the chapter titles or the subtitles when it transfers out to a Word doc. So I make sure that those are in there before I send it to Vellum, so that way I don't have to worry about that afterwards. It's already done. So it's an extra step for me, but it makes me feel better. There are some people who are like, I'm just going to export straight to Vellum. And I'm like, that's cool. I've done that. But it just makes, I don't know, for some reason it makes sense for me to follow that pattern. And so that's what I do.
No, and that I understand, because there are certain things that, like, no, they need to be done in this order, and I don't care if there's extra steps. That's how
Yeah.
my brain has told me I need to do it, and I'm the one doing the work, so what does it matter, you know? And I know everyone is like, they're just trying to be helpful, you know. Oh, well, you can do it like this so much faster. Not really, because if I do it your way, it's going to take me twice as long, because it's not my way. So
Right. And faster doesn't always mean better, right? Like,
that's true as well.
so.
So I know you said earlier when I asked about the author life balance, you kind of, haha, what's that?
Mhm.
But what do you do to, for your mental health, to recharge your creativity and things like that?
Um, some days I just take a nap. Honestly, like I know that my mental health is worse when my emotions are out of whack, when my everything and that is worse when I'm tired. And so, I know that everybody has heard about the fiasco that was last weekend. And so this week has been really hard and exhausting because of the emotional toll over the course of the week. Whereas I could have probably regulated my own emotions from it, being inundated by everybody else's emotions has just been so much that the other day I had to come home from work and just take a nap because there was no more functioning, no more anything. The kids are singing to me and I'm wanting to cry my eyes out. And so so really sometimes I literally do the thing that we tell little kids to do, and that is take a nap to recharge. But like I said, we have these little things that we do, like going to trivia every Tuesday. That is a nice mental break. Am I still using my brain? Yes, but I'm using it in a different way. And so it kind of breaks up that piece. I write poetry, even though I'm like, oh, I'm a poet and I have poetry books out. I wrote the poetry as a way of, I say poetry is therapy. That is what it is for me, is to kind of work through that. But yeah, those are the things that, I do just to bring myself back down. Like, here's where I am. Okay, this is a functioning level, you know,
Yeah, no,
and that's where I want to stay. Like sometimes I can be really up here, don't need to be really up here. Sometimes I don't want to be really down here. I just want to be at a functioning level. Thank you.
and sometimes functioning is that's the goal. It's
Mm-hmm.
just I can
Yep.
function, yay!
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So, are there any authors that have inspired you?
That have inspired me. I mean, honestly, if we're talking about inspiration, I'm going to say my indie author friends, because honestly, talking to y'all, being with Roberts Row every day, like that is what keeps me going when the shit isn't hitting. You know what I mean? When things just go wrong or zeros show up everywhere, you've not had any sales, there's no KDP, reads, none of that happening. It's like, okay, I'm not the only one. This is not a me thing. Everybody doesn't just hate me, right? Like, and
I have to remind myself of that all the time when I check my stuff, and I'm just like, damn, no one likes me. And then I'm like, well, maybe not. I don't think it's that. Let me get out of my pity party real quick.
right, and so it kind of is that thing of coming on here, as much as social media can be exhausting, right? And it can be emotionally exhausting. The ability to come on here and, if nothing else, scroll through lives and see other people writing and talking about reading and talking about indie authors. And because I honestly, until I started writing, didn't know that indie authoring was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't know that indie authors existed. I knew indie music,
Yep.
right?
I
But
was the same until
I
I
didn't
found
know
Book
indie
Talk.
authors exactly. Like, well, I found it on Twitter. I found out on Twitter, but I didn't know that there were so many of us until I came to Book Talk. And so that has really been an inspiration. Like, okay, I'm not in this alone. I'm not the only crazy one that's trying to make this happen. And, it didn't start off for me as this is going to be a business, this is going to be a job. That kind of progressed over time. I'm like, okay, I have 10 books out. If I have taken the time in the last 2 years, 2.5 years to put out 10 books, then let's go for 20 and see what happens. Like, let's develop a 5-year plan. And my 5-year plan is that this is either going to be self-sufficient or it's not. And we're going to get as many books out as we can in that 5 years, and then if it's not self-sufficient, we're just going to let them go and they'll just keep going and doing their thing. But I'm going to find something else to do, put with my energy into,
Yep.
until it's just fun again. Like, it's not a business, it's just fun. But I know me again. I when I graduated from high school, I graduated with my cosmetology license. I worked that shit for 3 months and I was like, I don't like the business side of this. I like the creativity side of it. I love making people feel good, but I don't like I don't want to do this as a business. And it took for, like, I didn't want to even cut anybody's hair anymore. Like, I didn't want, I don't want to touch it anymore because the business made it miserable. So if I get to the end of this 5 years and the business part of it is making it miserable, then I'm going to set it to the side until the writing is fun again.
Mm-hmm.
You
And
know?
that's the thing too is, and I struggle with this trying to get out as much as I can, right? And, as fast as I can, and I get overwhelmed because I have to, right? Because I don't write small books,
Hmm.
But like, okay, let me write 10 books at once, which apparently some people can do, but apparently I can't. But I also have to market. I have to do this. I have to do that, and it gets to be like so much that, like, I'm just like, well, I'm not selling anything anyway, so what's the point? I
Hmm.
mean, like, I struggle with depression on my good days. So I know some of that is my brain demons, right? The imposter syndrome and the spicy sads. Um, but it's like, you, some days it's just not fun,
Hmm.
you
Right.
know? And then you get a good writing day and you're like, oh, that's why I'm doing this.
Right.
And then check your KDP and you're like, why am I doing this?
Right. It sucks. It all sucks. They only read 12 pages of this book. They must hate it. Has nothing to do with the fact that they might have had to go to work or that, they might have got
No,
interrupted
no,
by
they
kids.
opened it, saw my name on the title page, and went, nope, this obviously is horrible. That's
Hmm.
exactly what happened.
Yep. They hate it, obviously.
So,
So,
do you have any advice for unpublished authors, or people who hope to become authors in the future?
um, yeah, trust yourself. Not every piece of advice that you hear is going to be advice that works for you. So try it. If it works, do it. If it doesn't, let it go. Because people are going to tell you all kinds of things. I have heard the don't edit while you write. I have, which doesn't work for me. That is not the kind of writer that I am. I have to, because that is the only way that I can continue on with the story. But it works for some people, right? I have heard so many different pieces of advice, and I'm like, that may work for you, but it doesn't work for me, or it doesn't work for somebody else that I know who has also tried it and then been miserable. You know, you got the people who say you must outline first, and then those who say you never outline. And you have to find what works for you, or else it's never going to work. And if you don't love what you're creating and the process of creating, then nobody's going to love it either, because it's going to be inauthentic. It's not going to be real. It's going to be contrived. It's going to read like AI, even if you wrote it, right? It's going to lack that connection that we can only do if we love what we're doing and the characters that we're creating and the story that we're writing. And even in poetry, like, it's still a story that I'm telling. It is my story, right? And so it has to be authentic. And you can only do that if you find what works for you.
Yes. And that's a big thing too, and that's usually the advice I give as well. It's advice is not one size fits all, because you'll get someone like, oh, this person who has 10,000 followers says I have to outline, but whenever I outline it, like, it never works, and then they get it in their head, instead of the outline being the problem, they're the problem, that they just can't do it. I guess I'm just not supposed to be an author. I'm just not supposed to do this. And it's like, well, have you tried not doing
Well,
that?
that's why I told you at the beginning that, I never thought I could write creatively, because I always approached creative writing academically, right? I had my outline. This is how things are going to go. And then it never sounded like a story. There was no emotion in it. It was an article, like, that I was writing, right? And so as soon as I threw all that away and was like, let me just write what I feel. What would these characters feel? If I was this character, what would I say? Suddenly I ended up with a story that I was like, I can enjoy this story. And, and it just all,
And I think that's
yeah.
an important piece too, is actually, like, as the author, you're gonna reread your stuff a million times. Like,
Mhm.
and if you're not liking your own story, why do you think someone else will? Like, you
Exactly.
have to. That's why, don't worry about writing for market. Don't worry about writing for sales. Write the story that you want to, be told. Whether
Yeah.
you think people will like it or not, because if you don't like it, there's no point in it.
And I think that that's another great piece of advice, right? Like, there is a reader for every type of book.
Yep.
They may be hard to find, but there is a reader for every type of book. And sometimes we try to put ourselves into the mainstream of, if I only got that one viral video, that doesn't mean that those people who see that viral video are going to like your stuff. Like, that doesn't mean that they're going to enjoy it. And then if they trash it because they didn't enjoy it off of that viral video, then you feel terrible again, but that wasn't your audience. And if you find your audience, but you're not happy with that audience, then maybe that's that is a you thing, right? Like, you put your book out there. This is the type of book you wrote. This is the type of reader who's enjoying that book. Write for them, if that's the way you want to write and tell your story, because that is authentically you, right? Um, and so I think that, that idea that there is a reader for every type of book and every type of writing, you just have to find who that is and trust that it's gotten to the right people.
Marianne wants to know, with rereading your books, do you find you start to get tired of it?
Of the story, no. But again, I'm looking for that dopamine hit. So I've reread the story, I've edited the story, I've reread it, I've edited, I've made changes, I've cleaned it up, it's proofread. I don't go back and reread it again until I'm writing the next book and I'm like, oh, who was that character? Oh, what did they do? Oh, this, because it's not that I'm tired of the story. It is that my brain says, okay, what's next? What's happening next? And so again, that's one of the reasons why my first drafts are so clean is because I go back and read as I'm writing, which again doesn't work for everybody. That's a big piece of advice that you hear all over TikTok from authors. Don't edit as you go, because you'll never finish the story. No, if I didn't edit, I would never finish the story. And so because I reread as I'm drafting, one, it's clean. Two, I still get to enjoy the story as if it's brand new because it's brand new every day. And then when I reread it, it's clean enough that I only have to read it once or twice. Yeah, I usually go back to Vanessa and be like, what did this character say or do in 2 books ago? I don't remember.
Yeah, no, I once I hit publish, I like to pretend like obviously I wrote the book, I have to market it and everything, but I won't look at my books. Like
Hmm.
I've read them so many times. I'm done. Like
Hmm.
don't ask me to do it. I won't do it, and you can't pay me enough to do it.
Now, when I do the audiobook, I mean, I will have to go back through and reread it, right?
Yeah.
And then I will probably find a typo that will just piss me off. And and I'll be like, is it worth me fixing it and re-uploading it for one damn typo?
So,
I don't
so
know.
that's what I did with Unbalanced. I'm going through because I published and then I'm done with it, but then I had to I cannot do audiobooks, right? I'll be listening and I will do my best to listen, but it will trigger something in my brain and I'm down the rabbit hole and then I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm supposed to be paying attention to this book." I can't do it. And so to make sure I was paying attention during my audiobook,
Hmm.
I was following along with a physical copy of the book, and then it got to the point by like chapter like 3 or 4, I had a highlighter. I'm like, why the fuck would I write this? Why do people like this? Why did my editor tell me not to put this in here? Like the whole book. So I'm already planning a volume 2 or version
Hmm.
2, so I can go and
Second
finish.
edition, whatever it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was my first book, so I'm bound to. I know I've improved, but I've improved enough that I can see how
Yeah.
much, and I'm
Well,
like,
when I changed the cover for Carol's, so Carol's Christmas Awakening, when I first put it out, it actually looked like this. This was the original cover. Okay. Has a little spicy scene in the Christmas ball and everything. Like this was the original cover. But then all of my other covers are, cartoons and all of that. And I was like, it really doesn't fit on the shelf with all the rest of my books. So I redid the cover, right, to make it fit in with the rest of the books. And I was like, well, if I'm going to republish the cover and republish the story, then let me go through again, let me clean it up. Somebody had mentioned that they wanted a little bit more in a scene, so I was like, okay, let me add that little bit of a scene. And then I was in the process of writing Clarissa, which was the second book in that interconnected standalone series. And so I put in, an epilogue that had snippets from that new book in there. And so you do, right? That was my very first book. There were bound to be some things that were missing or, that could just make it better. And so you do kind of go back and fix it. But to make Samantha's point down there, it's never going to be 100% perfect. Because if you look at traditionally published books that have a team of editors and proofreaders and all of that, there are still typos in there. There are still mistakes in there. There are still scenes that you'll read it and you'll be like, what did they mean in that? Yeah, why did they use that word?
what
Like,
is
yes, it's a
what's
correct
her
word, but
name?
God, why would we use that word?
She's an editor on here on TikTok, and she had a series where she was just like, this is for if you're a new author and you're worried about you know your writing, and then she would read a line or two from a like a really big traditionally published book, like 50 Shades or Twilight or Harry Potter or whatever, and like she she'll just be like, she'll just read this sentence, and you're like, that there's no way that's in that book. There's no way that horrible sentence ended up in this book. But it's a huge book.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you feel good about yourself.
Well, another thing that makes you feel good about yourself is like go to your favorite book and read the 1-star reviews. Like, because even the most popular books have 1-star reviews, right? There are people who don't like it. And so it just kind of puts that perspective in that you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be authentically you and create characters who are authentically themselves, right? That is the big thing that, I mean, I can speak for me as a reader. If I'm reading your book and your character does something that doesn't match what you built them up to be and who you built them up to be, I'm asking questions. And they're probably not very good questions, even more than a typo. I don't give a damn about a typo, but I need your character to be true to themselves. Like, if this is who you told me they are, even if they are, you know, the biggest liar on the planet, right? An unreliable narrator, that's fine. That is who you created them to be. Then let them be that. Don't suddenly make them, you know, be on the up and up. That's not who they are. That's not who they are. If they're an asshole, let them be an asshole. Can they have some kind of, you know, change? Yes, but at their core, are they going to stop being an asshole? No.
They're still going to be an asshole.
I mean, Scrooge had a change of heart. He was still an asshole. He delivered some food and some presents, but he was still an asshole.
Yep.
You know, so let your characters be who they are, and then let it go. When you finish the story and you have done your edits, and if you don't trust yourself to edit, you have had either multiple beta readers read it, you know, giving you things to correct, or you have paid for an editor. You know, I'm not out here selling myself, but I do offer editing services, copy editing and proofreading, like, and they're a decent price because I'm an indie author and I know how much these things cost. So my prices are low. But, you know, if you don't trust yourself to do the editing, find somebody else to do it for you, and then let it go. Let it go. Because if you can't, then you're not ready to independently publish, right? You're probably going to want to go the traditional route, or you're going to want to let it sit until you can finally say, okay, I'm ready for this just to belong to the world. And once it belongs to the world, just let it go. Let it go.
Yep. All right. So we are almost done. We have a few more questions left, but this is another chance to be entered into our schmiv. We're doing physical copies, US physical copies, for the Love of Vengeance, and the
Love with a
Just What
Vengeance.
the Poet
And,
Ordered.
yep, just what the poet ordered.
So if you would like to be entered, put some black hearts down in the comments, and I can add you onto our wheel. All right.
Night, Vanessa.
This next question I'm about to ask is probably the most important one of the evening. So I need you to take a moment and answer as truthfully as possible. What is your favorite dinosaur?
Triceratops.
That's an okay dinosaur. I'll accept it.
I have a hard head. They have a hard head.
That works. Hey, Rebecca. What is the most daring thing you've ever done?
Oh God. I have no self-preservation. So, let's see. I took a 3-hour unmarked cab ride from Mexico City to Querétaro City, because I missed the last bus because they wouldn't let me through customs. So, yeah, in the middle of the night. Yep, just got in a cab, with an unregistered, yep. That's probably one of the most daring things that
That is pretty daring. I'm
I
not
had to go
sure.
I had to go to class the next day. Like I literally was like, okay, I missed a whole week of classes because I had to come back home. My daughter was losing her shit and she was here with my mother. And so I had classes. I was taking classes in Mexico and I had to get back to class and they wouldn't let me through and I missed that last bus and I'm sitting there in the airport and this dude comes up to me, right? Like I had tied my luggage to myself so that it wouldn't disappear if I fell asleep. And he comes up to me and he was like, do you need a cab? Do you need a ride somewhere? And I was like, no, I'm good, this and that. He's like, but he was sitting there talking to me and he was like, I can take you. I was like, it's a 3 hour ride to where I'm going,
Mm.
right? And he was like, that's fine. This is how much it'll be. And it was only like $150. And I was like, so I could sit here and take the bus tomorrow and fail this class that, I'm almost all the way done with. My first class of the morning, because I would have missed the whole week plus that day. I was like, or I can take my chances that I end up, dismembered on the side of the highway, but I make it in time for class if that doesn't happen.
I mean, you only need one kidney,
I only need one.
right?
And so I went to the ATM and I got the money out. I did not give it to him. I sat in the back seat. I made sure that the doors did not lock. And yeah, and everything worked out well. He was like, it's okay. You can go to sleep. I was like, no,
Yeah, famous
no,
last words.
that's not going to happen. It's okay.
My
And
husband told me that one time too, and 15 years later, I can't get rid of them. So
yeah. No, but obviously I'm here, right? Everything worked out, but that was probably the dumbest. We can call it daring, but it was probably one of the dumbest things that I've ever done. But again, no self-preservation. The ADHD says the most important thing right now is that I don't fail these college classes. That is the most important thing. So what's going to get me there in time? It would not have been the bus because by the time the bus would have even picked me up, I would have had to been at class, and it's a 3 hour ride. So yeah, that was my daring dumb one of many moments.
all right. If you could be a shifter, what would your alternate form be?
Oh, oh, oh. I would want to be. There's so many good ones. I want to be an owl.
Ooh, I
I
like
want to be an
that.
owl. They are majestic and yet deadly.
Okay,
Like beautiful and yet with talons of steel. Yes, that's what I want to be. Majestic and deadly. Yes, please.
what inanimate object would be the most annoying if it played loud, upbeat music while it was being used?
I mean, I know that the obvious answer, right, is a vibrator. That is the obvious answer.
See, my obvious answer was my pillow, but everybody comes on here and they like say some kind of weird sex thing, and I'm like, okay.
I mean, but in the course of it being used, is it truly inanimate? That is, we could argue that either way. Let's see, what other item would be the most annoying? Probably my shoes, because I hate when my shoes squeak, let alone if every step that I took, it was just playing music, like clown car music. I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine.
See, because you went cloud music and I went Taylor Swift.
Okay, I'm not gonna, let me not get canceled on here.
No, the thing is, I don't even like Taylor Swift, so that's what would make it annoying.
Yeah.
All right, so what food have you never eaten but would really like to try?
Um, I don't know. I don't know. I have a texture issue. So there are some things that I'm like, that may look good, but it also looks like it has a weird texture. And so I don't want to try it because I can't imagine that being tasty. Um, no matter how good it looks, I'm like, I don't know. So there are things that I haven't tried just because I haven't tried them, not because of any other reason. So like, he's not a big noodles guy, but I would like to try pho, and I have
Okay.
not had it. Um, but I also like soup and I like noodles. So I'm assuming that I would enjoy it. I just haven't had anybody else to just, oh, let's go get that. So I can just go get that because that's not what he's going to want to go get. So I would say that would probably be the thing.
What would you use to survive the zombie apocalypse?
A bet. I want to be up close and personal. Like I don't believe in pew pews. I'm not a fan of them because there's too much distance between if I am going to hurt something or somebody, be it a zombie or somebody else who's trying to leave me for zombie, I want to be able to swing something hard.
That's the that's valid. All right, so let's go ahead. We'll give one more chance to enter the Schmiv away. If you go ahead and drop a black heart in the comments, I will add you to the wheel. And we are doing, for those of us, if you're just now joining us, Love with the Vengeance and just with the Poet Ordered physical copies. Unless you are outside of the US of A, then she will be doing ebooks.
And wishing I could do physical copies.
No, like I said, that's a lot.
I need the world to just calm down. Just calm down.
All right, so can you please let everyone know down in the comments where they can find you if they want to go looking for you?
So you can find me at BisabelWrites.com, LeyaLayne.com. Yeah, you get multiple entries for putting the hearts in there. So
Yep.
yeah, my link, if you click on my account here, it has also the link to all of my Leya links. So that has my Amazon, it has my Instagram for Leya, and then of course it has all the Bobbie links that are there. But the website is the same. So even my signed copy shop, that is all the same. Both names, LeyaLayne.com and BeIsabelWrites.com, both go to the same website with the same shop. I have a blog on there that has lots of poetry and some random musings about writing that I have on there. You can sign up for my newsletter from my website. There is a free story that you can get in my newsletter. If you go to the Leya account and click the link, you will get access to the free story. It is nice and spicy. So if that's your jam, go get it. Yeah, but that's where I am. All the links are in the bio, but if you don't have the bio, it's BeIsabelWrites.com or LeyaLayne.com.
I know you mentioned that you have a few events coming up. Would you mind letting our audience know where you're going to be headed soon?
Yep, give me 1 second and I will bring it up so that I can
She has
see
that
that.
many. She's got a schedule.
I do have a schedule. I have a spreadsheet for everything. So there's that. Let's see. So tomorrow I will be at the Bee's Knees, which is a local market here in West End, North Carolina. Next weekend on Sunday, I will be at Your Coffee Place in Troutman, North Carolina. They are having an author event. It will be an outdoor event at a coffee shop. Everybody seems to love the coffee shop. I hate coffee, so I'm glad that it's outside this time. I will be in Luston, the city in Virginia Beach at the end of the month. I will be at Aces Wild in New Jersey the 13th of June. I will be at SAS in Norfolk. I think it's in Norfolk, Virginia on the 28th of June. I will be at Sinful Signings in Roanoke on July 19th. I'll be at Chaos in the Carolinas in September, which is here in North Carolina in Asheville. I will be at Canaltown Book Festival in Ohio I just got my acceptance for that in October 4th. And then on the 17th, I'll be in Kentucky at Books and Bourbon. November, I'll be at Booked in Chaos in South Carolina, in Greenville. And then I will be at a pop-up holiday book event, Romancing the Holidays, in Charlotte, North Carolina at the end of November. And who knows what else might be in there. I'm still debating whether I'm going to do Bookmarks Author Festival. Must y'all fight right now? Really? Author Festival here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I'm going to Sinful Signings in July, Lexington Legendary Book Bash in Kentucky in September, and then Booked in Chaos in November. And like,
yeah, I lost my mind last year when I signed up for all of these big events. And, you know, last weekend notwithstanding, that was a total anomaly, but not so much of an anomaly that, you know, I go in knowing that I may not make back all the money that I spent, right? It is for exposure more than it is for profit. But so then I started signing up for all these little ones, these little markets and things here locally to try to fill in the gaps financially. And so then all of a sudden it just ended up out of control. Hence why I have a spreadsheet, because if I didn't have a spreadsheet, I would have no idea where I was supposed to be and when. But yeah, on my social media, I do have a graphic that shows where I am, and every once in a while I'll take off the old ones that are done and I'll put it back up and add any new ones in. So right now the newest one was the Canal Town. They finally accepted me.
nice.
So
Is there anything else that you would like us to know? New releases or any specials that you're running? Are you doing any like Stuff Your Kindle days or sales or anything? Or
So I am not currently doing, like, there's a Stuff Your Kindle that's going on this weekend. I am not doing that one. I will, so we are releasing, like I said, the last of our Cole County. The three of them are back there. We're releasing the fourth one at the end of this month. At Lust in the City. That will be the first time that we will be having it out there. And so that is a big deal because that series will disappear December 31st. We are taking them down. They will not be available anymore. So the last time to pre-order, and pre-orders get nice, fun stuff. We have lots of goodies that we throw in with the pre-orders. There is a link in the Leya bio for those pre-orders, but the last time to order them is right before Booked in Chaos, because then we will not be able to get any more signed ones out, and it will, like I said, it won't even be available on Kindle anymore at the end of December. So January 1st, it'll be gone. And you should follow us because we're doing this fun little thing where we had people sign up for a giveaway of all of these books and one from each of us. If you could guess how many releases collectively Roberts Row puts out this year, because we don't know.
like, yeah, don't y'all have a thing going on right now to whoever guesses the right number?
Yeah, so we closed the guesses, but it is still a lot of fun to watch how many times how many books we put out. So by the beginning of March, we had already released 7 books amongst the 4 of us. And 2 more just came out, and I have one coming out this month. Gracie has one coming out next month. And, you know, Britain is putting out like 1 a month, I think. So we have no idea how many books will be put out by us this year.
Yeah, but I didn't realize that y'all put books out so fast. When I was going to interview Britain, I went to look up like her backlog and stuff like that, and I was like, am I qualified to be talking to her? Like, oh my god, she's got like so many books out.
Yeah, she writes really fast and edits really slow. So like she will sit down for like 2 weeks and crank out 3 books, and then it'll take her the next month and a half, 2 months to go through and read through those books. So it is fun to watch. It is fun to watch. So yeah, you should watch that. Marianne, yes. So the 3 of them are available on Amazon right now. They can be purchased on Amazon. and they're on Kindle, but not in Kindle Unlimited. And I am actually in the process and should hopefully have, by today or tomorrow, have the pre-order up for the last one on Amazon. So yes, they are available.
All right, so I know there's a way to do this. Hold on. Is this how I do it? Oh, yes, I got it. Sweet.
Look at you.
Yep. All right, so our wheel of names.
I can't see. Who is it?
Marianne.
Yay! Yay. Marianne, just send me a message with your email address and I will email you a link to download those books. And then if things ever calm down, I'll come back to you and see if I can't send you some swag or something.
Marianne is amazing. She's an awesome cheerleader too. I love
Yes, Ash, you can get them. Like I said, in my Leya links, you can do the pre-order form to get all of those books directly from us. And if you're going to be at any events we're at, you can always have ask to pick it up there, or we can ship them to you. And they do come signed by all 4 of us. So that's the fun part.
All right, you guys. So that is actually it. Bobbie, did you want to do another run through of your books before we sign
Sure,
off?
I can do that. I got them all mixed up now.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I got them all mixed up for no good reason whatsoever. So we'll just go ahead and do the poetry first. So When Can We Be Soft was my first book of poetry, all about being a woman in society that wants us to be feminine and yet wants to call us strong without giving us a chance to be soft. And so that was my therapy and working through me, feeling some kind of way about it. Untethered Love is all about the types of love you can feel, including self-love, if you can work through all that other shit. Then we have Just What the Poet Ordered, which is 365 short form poems for all occasions. You can read 1 poem a day for the entire year. You can binge it, or you can look at the index, and if you're feeling some kind of way, find a poem that probably fits that feeling. I also have my children's book, Lily and the Nervous Narwhal. So if you have a little in your life or an elementary school teacher, this is a great book for them. She has magic pajamas that let her visit animals in her dreams, and she goes to visit the beluga whales and meets a narwhal who is nervous because his tooth has grown and he doesn't look like his cousins anymore. The second book will be out later this year, and it will be a tiny monarch butterfly who has to make his migration, and he's afraid he can't make it. And then I have the Maynard, which is the first in my fantasy series, Age of the Forgotten Ones. She is the first Maynard in a millennium, and she doesn't know anything about herself, her upbringing, who her father was, and her magic starts to blossom, and she almost destroys things and has to figure out how. So I say that is like, think Disney's Hercules. If Hercules was female, had magic and friends. And there are dragons, but there is no smut. It is appropriate for ages 14 and up. All right, now we get to the smut, because of course we do. Why wouldn't we? So there's Carol's Christmas Awakening, which is the original Hot Hallmark. It is everything you want from Hallmark, except you don't have to wait until the end to get to the first kiss, because they decided to start getting it on in the second chapter. She owns a floral shop. He works at the pop-up Christmas tree shop. And because it's a reimagining of A Christmas Carol, The Ghosts of Christmas, play matchmaker. They each have an assistant, and that is Carol and Mark. Clarissa is a floral assistant by day, dominatrix by night, and teaches him that he has a praise kink. All of my female main characters are plus size or mid size. They are all over 26 because I do not do the youngins and the old people. We're not doing that. Love with a Vengeance is a standalone, and the reason it's a standalone is because nobody survives. They are getting vengeance on the ones who killed him, so he is a ghost. They are on a cruise ship. It lasts 3 days. It is short. You can read it in a couple hours. And then my most popular book or most well-known book is You've Got Book Mail. She is a reclusive author who writes spicy romantasy and contemporary romance. She is in the process of writing the final book in of contemporary romance with her favorite protagonist. And she gets interrupted in every single one of the smut scenes by the mailman. And she falls for him because he delivers all the packages. There is a cock-blocking cat. He is a lot of fun. His name is Ferris. He is named after the infamous Ferris wheel scene, which is the hottest thing that I have written. And I have written a lot of good things, but there is something about being up in the air and in public. You know, it just happens. And the book that she is writing that you get snippets of in that book is Char's story. And so she is writing Char's story. Everybody who read You've Got Book Mail asked where the rest of Char's story was. So it is right here. It is his own book. Char is a mid-sized model who is up and coming. She is very popular and she gets a new contract. And while she's in town to sign her new contract, she meets up with this guy and spends the weekend with him, has the most wonderful weekend. He is the first man who has ever done it for her. She has one rule: you don't fuck around where you work. He has one rule: you don't get involved. They both decide that they want to get involved with each other. They really like each other, and she walks into her first job on her new contract to find out that he is her boss.
They're just breaking all the rules.
Breaking all the rules. And that is literally what I sign in the book when people get signed copies, is break all the rules. Yep. And that is my books. Those are the 10.
With more to come.
Yep. And Mother of the Maynard hopefully will be out by the end of this month. Hopefully. I'm almost done with it. And the cover is almost done. And it's gorgeous. God, it's gorgeous.
Well, thank you for coming and hanging out with me and talking about your books and everything. Our next week, Brian should be back, hopefully, and he will be sitting down with Sarah Furlong Burr. If you are just now joining us and missed this, we like to upload all of our interviews onto YouTube, and that should be up by like noonish tomorrow. I say ish because Brian is Eastern and I'm Central, so it might be noon for me, but it's later for him, so ish, right?
Ish. Somewhere in the afternoon. Somewhere in the afternoon.
It'll be there tomorrow, I promise. If you are an author looking to get on an interview show similar to this, we have the interest form in the links in my bio for Friday Night Writes. You can fill out the interest form. Also, we have an anthology coming out July 1st, which Bobbie is a contributing author of.
This is what the cover is going to look like.
Yep, See Me As I Am, where we highlight invisible illnesses, both mental and physical. All the proceeds are going to go to NAMI, the National Alliance for Mental Illness. So, yep, that link is in the bio as well. We're going to have it ebook and physical copies. So the pre-order links are, if you go into my bio, hit Friday Night Writes, it'll take you to the Friday Night Writes link tree, which has all of our Discord, Facebook, all the fun stuff. But that was about it. Thank you so much, Bobbie, for hanging out with me.
Absolutely. Thank you, Evie. It's been a lot of fun. And thank you, everybody who sat here and listened to me talk for 2 hours. Y'all are the real MVPs. Oh, I have a Discord too. I didn't mention that, but it is, the links are in there. I have one. I try to get in there and talk to people as often as possible. I have done giveaways in there before. They usually get first access to my street teams and my arcs and all of that.
Nice. All right. Well, if no one has anything down in the comments, then we will get going.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I hope you all have a great night. Have a good weekend, right? Stay safe and all that. Be sure to follow Bobbie. And yeah, go check her out on all of her books out on Amazon and everything. Or better yet, her website, because we get more if you buy from us directly. But yeah. Amazon does ship physical copies to other countries.
Amazon will ship. And you know, Marian, if you were to buy physical copies, if you just send me an email and say, hey, I bought physical copies of these, I will send you a book plate so you can, they have them on Amazon Canada. So if you were to buy them through Amazon and you just kind of like want the signature, I will pop a book plate in an envelope and send it to you. I'll send some stickers in there. Just let me know that you bought it.
All right, you guys. I hope y'all have a great night. Have a great weekend. Thank you again, Bobbie.
Absolutely. Thank you, Evie. I'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.